Thank you, Mr. Pereira. So our three speakers have provided three different perspectives, but they seem to converge on the idea that this problem is far more integrated into university society as well as our broader society, and that solutions such as militarization, securitization may actually be a symptom of the problem rather than a solution, and may not really address the fundamental problem that we're dealing with when it comes to ragging. So there are several people have commented. I will go from in the order. The first comment is from is from Mr. Puanendra. It says, if the university system management had handled the issue properly, we would not have been in this.
Puanendran. He should be Puanendran.
Sorry?
Yes, my name is Puanendran. I'm talking from Norway. I studied in University of Jaffna, so I always involved with the universities over there, even now. So for me, you know, from coming from Jaffna and Jaffna University, seen so many military things, I don't support this involvement because it can lead to so many other problems. But definitely, this should be criminalized. I think it's already criminalized, but I don't think it's not taken that far to criminalize this or take them to the courts or something. Even from Jaffna in recent years, I know Jaffna universities, there are so many intimidations. Even people went to the police and the parents were intimidated, parents of the victim intimidated. So it's not well handled. Even the university system is not helping the victim. That's my point. They are not taking very strong action. So that's
Currently,
the
I think it is criminalized. There is the Anti-Ragging Act, but there are problems with that as well because
yes, it's a logistical, you know, how to implement. That's the problem, because even the victims are withdrawing the cases because of the intimidation after. You know, it happened in Jaffna University, I know personally. So,
would I think Professor Sivamohan may have a response to that. I don't know. You want to speak? Sumathy? Oh, I don't know.
About criminalization.
Yeah, like about this inaction and it has to be criminalized.
It is already criminalized, and some major violations, like where there had been like groups that had been badly tortured, and that has come to light. Then the incident at Sri Jawadnapura, where the student was badly injured, you know, almost his brains were damaged, and that he recovered. But when that means it hits the headlines. The other kind of violations and ragging, which are equally serious, do not get to be known very much because there is a culture of silence among students by the people who are ragged, also largely because of fear, but also because there's a kind of animosity that's directed toward administration. It's become a very intractable problem in that sense. So now, and also because of the lack of investment by the administration in eradicating, students are going to the police more and more when they could, when they have the means to do it, when they have support from the family. The university system is not giving much support. So I know of a case where the marshal, in fact, the security people had in fact told the students, you go to the police, because if you go to the university administration, nothing will be done. So, but that these could be enacted, so they are criminalized. But then you need proof. I mean, to be fair, to be somewhat fair by the administration, they can grant only a 2-week suspension before, at the initial stages. And then they need to have a proper inquiry. By the time the proper inquiry happens, the long-term suspension or dismissal or whatever, the student kind of the cultural pressure starts acting, that machine, kicks into motion. And then the victims are intimidated, shamed, harassed, and then they withdraw. And we don't have a culture of providing support for these students. The administration has not put in place any culture. The UGC has not put in place any system, mechanism to protect these people from further harassment. There's no kind of protective, nurturing culture for those who come forward to complain. So that witness protection is not being used because the administration is not involved in it. I mean, they don't have the will, the political will for that.
I think it's also the rest of us are also not involved in it in some ways.
I mean, the staff, the academic staff, I mean, this is why when I spoke, I mean, the academic staff are deeply divided on this. And that's why I think we should now act in opposition. Even though we are a small group within the academic community, we should now say we will not teach. But I, as an individual, cannot do that. We have to create a consciousness among the academic staff where I will say, if I see ragging, we will not teach.
Dr. Jayadeva has a, I'm jumping a few comments because Dr. Jayadeva and Dr. Kamina Gunaratna have both brought up similar issues. Dr. Jayadeva, would you like to speak? Dr. Vijay Jayadeva? Okay, what about Kamina?
Okay, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that the universities, it has the structures, the vice chancellor and the council is primarily responsible for the situation in the university. That is very clearly stipulated. Then you have the the senate, the deans, the faculty boards, the heads of departments, the galaxy of professors, all of them are responsible for this situation. But unfortunately, that responsibility doesn't get translated to action. There are just a few academics who talk about these issues at places where it matters, but the wider majority are mum about this. So it is as so, as we call this whole series, it's an invisible to talk about. At least this webinar series should actually be able to prick the conscience of people to come out and talk and raise the issue at the fora, that is at the faculty boards, at the senates, and it's without taking this problem to make it an external problem that we invite the security services into the university. I mean, it's a shame on the university to say that we can't handle and manage this. It's a real shame. I think we should look at the terms of reference that are given to heads and deans and revise those terms of references, and we should have a system of actually providing the proper sensitivities and the training to people to actually act on these things. Because when we become heads and deans, we have there isn't even a clear terms of reference. There isn't even a kind of a discussion as to what your role is about. We just slip into the boots of somebody else and we just pedal along. And the end result is there is no qualitative improvement in the way we enact our roles as heads or deans or vice chancellors or anybody in the university. It's pathetic. We teach about management, and because of practice, we don't practice what we preach or we teach. So we have to start ourselves.
Thank you, Dr. Jayadeva. Professor Kamina Gunaratna, would you like to add anything?
Yes, Shamala. I would just like to throw out a few ideas. Okay, I think we all agree that ragging is a problem. Ragging is a criminal. Simply because it goes on in the university, that doesn't mean it's less criminal. I think we should strongly oppose this move to bring the state intelligence services in, But in doing that, perhaps we can suggest a solution. Let's face it, the university has failed miserably for decades in stopping this kind of ragging. And it is possible that we may need some outside help. So what I'm saying is, what's wrong with police force? I mean, its legitimate duty is to stop criminal action, whether outside the university or within the university. If you need some kind of, information that we cannot be privy to, you have the CID, or that is their legitimate role to investigate crime. That may be an adequate compromise. They investigate drugs, they go undercover, whatever. You may need that to really stop the ragging here. But the intelligence is completely overblown. And as you said yourself, that is very, very, frightening. And that is not something we should accept. But if we do come out with an alternative and say, look, we can do it this way, we might be more likely to succeed.
Could I say something to that? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Go ahead.
Professor Kamina Gunaratna, I think we know, we have caught people. I have been, we know the people. We do, the marshals know, the university knows. But the will, the political will is not there. And it is not there, not only because of the academics, not only because of the student union, because the governments, this very same government, I mean, this government, previous government, successive governments, they have not had the political will to put an end to it. I mean, look at the academic staff that are supporting ragging. They are the people who go after these different politicians to get jobs as well, or some perks. So, I mean, we know who rags. I mean, it happens in front. I mean, the less, the kind of egregious ones, I mean, happen in front of us. And the marshals know. I mean, there's a pattern to it. And I think bringing in intel, we also know what happens to people who do drugs. I mean, they are killed sometimes, often. And actually the drug mafia is not tackled. They don't get criminalized. It's the people in the streets. And what is going to happen with intelligence? We have had we have had intelligence before. During 83, there was intelligence following me. 83, 84, 85, right? We have had intelligence since the 70s, since 71, I think. We had a police post in 85, and what happened? A student got some guys who came back after a film, got into a slight altercation. Or I'm not sure whether it was even an altercation. A student was killed, shot. I mean, this is, as Professor Uyangoda said, it is going to radicalize students in different ways. There's going to be the very same students who rag, Kamina, will be the ones who would be providing information on other things. It's not going to stop ragging. It will start to be a way of monitoring and snuffing out dissent among students. It will not stop ragging.
Professor Kamina, do you want to respond, or does...
Yeah, I would like to respond.
Yes.
Sumathy, maybe I didn't make myself clear. I'm completely and totally opposed to the state intelligence services coming in. This is a civil issue, it's not a military issue, and they should not be there. But ragging is a crime, and it has resulted in deaths of students. That is definitely a crime. There could be issues of murder. So after the fact, it does become a police issue. The sexual violence inflicted on students is a crime, and that becomes a police issue. So definitely after the crime has taken place, it becomes a police issue. And students can be charged in court in addition to facing internal disciplinary action. So the police get involved anyway. And I think the students also have to realize that what they are doing is violating the criminal laws of the country, right? So that is why the police is a legitimate actor in this whole process, the police and the courts, right? Now, so everyone is opposed, and I know what I said was controversial, to bringing the police in before the fact, to understand what is going on and to try and stop it. Yeah, I know that is controversial. I offered that as a perhaps acceptable alternative to the SIS, which is an absolute no-no. But I think we all have to understand that ragging is a police issue and these students should be prosecuted in court for violence.
I think Professor Uyangoda would agree with you. Professor Uyangoda, do you want to add anything? Maybe not. Professor Uyangoda, because I felt like what he said kind of complemented what you said, Kamina.
Yeah, no, I don't advocate that the police should be brought into the university. That's not my solution. You see, what I am saying is that there should be a sustained dialogue with students by the university authorities, university administrators, university teachers, parents, as well as the political groups who back these student groups. You see, there are 5 groups, 5 communities, 5 constituencies, among whom there should be a sustained dialogue, at least for a period about 5 years. You see, that dialogue, as Kusal said, introducing the idea that ragging is an extremely serious violation of human rights. It's a violation of basic principles of human interaction, human relations. It is uncivilized. It is an injury to society. And that's not the way the human beings should interact with each other. Those are issues that need to be discussed with students. I recall in the late 1980s and the early 1990s at the University of Colombo, we started with the Faculty of Law and Faculty of, Professor Kamina might remember, Faculty of Law and Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Commerce. We formed between students and teachers, university faculty, and we had a joint group, and we had 2-3 years of dialogues, conversations with all student groups about violence, about ragging, and soon after 1988-89 that the huge violence to which university students were subjected. So then that, to some extent in the Colombo University, we managed to mitigate ragging through 3 years of dialogue with students. That dialogue model can work, but that requires the engagement with students. Students ultimately are the people who are both perpetrators of this violent form of human relationship called ragging. They are also the victims. So, that is the most important thing. And the second point I want to say, once again, taking up from what Kusal said, you see, our education system is such that humanistic values are never introduced to students in the school education. Even teaching religion does not inculcate human values among students. Religious teaching in schools is basically based on identity demarcations. The students are rarely exposed to the values and cultures of other religions. So I think we have to seriously think about school education as well. When we get students to the university as first year freshmen, they have gone through a very mechanistic process of learning and examinations and going to tuition classes from morning to evening. You see, rarely do students get the chance to seriously think about human values. Teachers don't, share with students the ideas of human values. And when you come to the university students are once again under this present semester system, constantly running to classes, doing, all kinds of evaluations. Teachers themselves, under this neoliberalization of the university system, what do the teachers do most of the time? They are either filling forms or going to meetings, preparing quantitative reports about their performance for performance evaluation. So there's a kind of, a technicization of the school education as well as university education at the cost of human values.